You guys want to join me for the pledge?
Sure. By the United States of America, the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
All right. Thank you. All right, so we'll go back to the single-use plastic reduction status, review the projects we've been talking about with the focus on rooftop solar, kind of this discussion. Excuse me. Um, Talk about maybe some potential social media posts, try to focus a little more on that going through the rest of the year and making sure we're providing some content for those few people that are following us and keeping them up to date and part of that's education and so forth. I added this new idea of just township discussions of the month. What I'm going for there is just things I've heard, especially this month was fairly interactive with the township day and then the town hall. So I had an opportunity, to really get out and discuss things with different people a little more than normal. So just things that came up in those conversations, things of hearing about. Um, just kind of wanted to bring them here, discuss them. I don't know that they go anywhere, but I just figured we bring them up and see if maybe they turn into actions or projects for future activity. If there's normal announcements from the township, Rick, and then like my recap of state and local uh, action.
All right.
So we had the council workshop on May 2nd that we presented at. They get the emails out, so they were all invited, notified anyone that filled out our survey, the 131 or so people that did that got an email from the township. And then Maria did have a separate list that she asked Brandon. So they were all sent out. I think her list was from last year's township day, I believe. Just kind of people who were interested in environmental topics that had signed up with us. So those went out on the 3rd or so. I think Maria's list was a little later. And of course, the real town hall on the single-use plastic reduction ordinance held on May 29th. Council had their first consideration June 10th, and I assume, as I understand it, second consideration, you have to have a second consideration, then I think uh, announcement, a vote, and then the vote. So I don't know, Nick, jump in here if I'm wrong, but I think then that'd be July, August or September, maybe would be a final vote. Jump
A
in.
final vote for the ordinance?
I'm just trying
Final?
to, yeah, well, I'm just trying to think the like first consideration, and I thought I heard that there had to be a second
Third,
consideration, then an announcement.
final
Uh,
consideration, I believe, would be July, unless this is something different. But for as long as I've been on council, I believe we've advertised at a first meeting, so it would be June, and then final consideration is the following meeting, July.
oh, so that'd be the final vote?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I've been talking to Karen, I was trying to get a sense of the feel. I felt like she was describing more steps than that maybe what she
I'm
was describing are kind of actually
this
merged
doesn't
together.
yeah. I know there are some things like I know at one point I remember like back when Monero was on council, he wanted to change um like how we elected council members, and that would have been like amending the town charter, and that was a process. But just a simple ordinance, no, that's we need to advertise it twice. So we've advertised it once at June, and given citizens a chance to come, and then once we advertise it once, final consideration can technically happen at any subsequent meeting. So I don't see council not passing it in July. Technically, I think if we wanted to, we could table it for a future meeting. We don't necessarily have to pass it in July, but from what I've heard, most likely it should be passing in July.
All right, thanks for explaining.
Yep.
Any questions on the timeline there? All right, seeing none. No real update on the store signage. I know Rio had the draft out there. So I think the link is still current there, and kind of waiting now for the website to go up, and then we can post the draft signage. We probably should make sure we finalize that. I know I did see she had sent it to Farron to get his input. I don't think we've received anything back from him. And then the website, I know Andrew's had some exchange with Brandon, but I don't know exactly where that is in terms of when that would go live. Has anyone heard anything? You know, I don't know, Nick or Rick, is there any concerns about the website or anything kind of holding it up that you're hearing? Like, is there any process that we should be going through with that, or?
I don't know that anything's holding it up. I did hear some conversations about the website at past not council, but staff meetings, but I don't know the status of it. It may be that they're waiting for the construction to be over because there is some, the MDFs and IDF, the IT rooms are still, not complete yet. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I don't know if there's any. I don't think there's anything holding it up. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I can find out from Len or Brandon. But it could have something to do with the construction. Just getting through that. There's a lot of systems that get turned off and then rewired to the new MDF room, and so maybe that has something to do with it.
Thanks for that. If you could reach out to Len or Brandon, we appreciate it. I maybe he's been very communicative with Andrew. I mean, I know there's been an exchange, but I don't know how active it's been. It's been completely clear on where we stand, because when I talked to Andrew, he was saying he wasn't really sure. He was kind of moving on to the other project that he was working on for this year. So
I could ask Len and Brandon and send an email out to you guys just to let you know what the status is.
all right. And sorry, I meant to just, obviously the town hall's over. I just was gonna include the link to the final charts in here. I forgot to insert the link. I'll update the charts after the meeting here. I wrote it down already. I think that's all I have on single-use plastic. It's weird. I don't know, what was that, 5 minutes? So any other thoughts on single-use plastic? Paul, did you have something?
No, not really. Seems like it's all just moving along, and
Mhm.
I guess it sounds like it's a pretty good chance it'll just be approved, or sounds good.
Great. Yeah,
Oh,
just
I went to the meeting as well, the council meeting, I guess it is. Um, None of those people from the town hall showed up, which
at
I
the
thought was,
first consideration on June 10th.
yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting that they only came to the town hall and none of them actually came to the council meeting. So I kind of expected them to be there.
I know the agenda is posted beforehand, but unless you go and you look for it, I guess people don't always know. I did have Brandon posted on our Facebook, or I asked him to, and he did say he would. So I didn't go to Facebook and check it, but just so people knew that it was going to be discussed on the 10th.
Yeah, Bill had a copy of it. Had a
What's
copy of
that?
Bill had a copy of the agenda. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's posted online, but I mean, you have to go look. You have to know to go look.
mhm.
All right. So now we'll start to get a little more active, I hope, on these other projects. Energy transition plan. Um, I didn't get anything done this month. I am on my radar is to read the I have open in another browser the PA Clean Energy Plan or Action Plan. Um, Bill, I wanted to check. I thought there was a county level plan. Do you recall? Is that true, or is it just a state level plan?
The county is still talking about doing a county climate action plan, but I have not seen any updates on it. It was there was a web page that was set up and this is as far back as the summer of 2022. And they said they had a citizen committee giving input to it, but then I never, I checked the website even just this last fall, and I didn't see any updates on the website to tell us that they were making progress on it. But it apparently is in their to-do list. I could reach out to John Lesher and just ask him what the status is.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to do that, be interested in seeing get in. So basically, what I'm trying to do is get a better feel for what is being established at the state or county level, and then how our energy transition plan, it'll have to align, right? But want to make sure that it's a good complement to that those wider level documents, and touches on the more specifics more applicable at our township level versus what is stated at the higher levels or wider levels. So that's what I'm looking to start investigating. I believe Aaron Weiss at one point had said that she was thinking that a county level plan would basically preempt, take over instead of our energy transition plan at the township level. Um, I'll say I'll go forward looking into it if we think that county level one is going to be produced, released, and really covers everything we have in the township level, and then maybe we don't need it. But my feel is that we'll still need the township level one to be a little more specific as to what we want to do at the township level. So that's where I'm going in, and that's what I'll be looking into over the next month or two.
Yeah, I'll see where the county is on their version. I know Abington was also in that same cohort. They do roughly 10 to 20 each year, depends on the number of that they enlist, but they either do 10 or 20, I think, township boroughs each year. And Abington was also in that 2022 cohort, and they have not published theirs. And I know that Khaki Braun, who was working on it from their EAC, found it to be a great deal of work. So maybe the county also realized that it's a bit more work than they had planned on. Because it includes the other attributes, remediation, adaptation, mitigation. So whereas our energy transition plan really just focuses on reliability, whereas ours just focuses on carbon reduction measures. So I think that they could still complement each other, because I think we'll find that the climate action plan is a little more general, and the energy transition plan will help us focus on the actual carbon reduction elements that we want to achieve.
Thanks for that explanation, Bill. Yeah, and if you could look to hear back from me on what status information you can find out. Thanks. I'm gonna skip over rooftop solar. We'll get into that in the next couple of charts, and then so this open space fund was what Andrew said he was gonna get back to, but he didn't give me any status. I don't know, Paul, if you have had a chance to talk with Andrew about it anymore.
No, we did not discuss it at all.
Okay.
So that'll be something that we have to. Has anything been done by anyone else, or I mean, I'm not aware of any background or anything.
I think in the backup charts here, I have some
Okay.
information on the different projects.
Okay, we can.
I would
and-
review whatever I put in there. Open space fund here. So you can read the summary here, go to the presentation, and I think I'm just pointing to the discussion we had at one of the AB meetings here. So
Okay.
do that. And I don't know if we have anything on community education either. I really didn't give me anything, so you don't have anything, right?
So I just updated like next two charts. Yeah. But they are like, just the questions and what we have from the Excel sheet that Bill and you have put together. So like, some of these, like what assumptions we had, and then what is the, like, big picture. I think I wrote these questions in the email that I sent to you and Bill. And then I thought, like, if we get a chance to find answers for these, we can spend, like, if we have time, we can spend time on that, like finding answers to these questions. And then that can help us to move forward. Like, are we considering more rooftop solar in the township? Or like, with the new building, what is the exact square footage that we are going to get, and all those, right? So
I do have some information I can share with you if you get to the point where you're ready to see what kind of research I've done. I can go through some materials that I have.
yeah. So Bill, do you want to email me the list, like, that you have?
Actually, I think it would be good for the discussion if I can do a presentation, it's not a presentation, but just show you interactively what I've done, so you can get a better feel for how it all ties together.
Yeah. Andy, are you okay with it?
Yeah. So, I figure, I don't know if we'll be able to get through everything, right? So let's just set a time limit here, or so say 15, 20 minutes, and we'll deep dive on it. And as much as we can answer and talk through it, assuming, I look at some of those questions, I say, I don't know, we just need to go back. Unfortunately, I'm not prepared to answer. But Bill, I like just going through a short summary of what we've talked about so far. Um, that's good now. I'm trying to think, is there a way can you present, or do I have to do something, or Rick, or?
Yeah,
If you need like building square footage and energy, demand and stuff like that. I mean, I can get you that stuff. The square footage of the building, I guess the available square footage of the roof, things like that. I'm not sure what questions are on there, but any of that stuff I could get for you.
yeah, if I can share, I'll just show, kind of what my thinking is, and then you guys can uh definitely ask, just to kind of brainstorm. Yeah, so one of the pictures I did, and that was the spreadsheet that I'd shown previously, was to calculate over a 30-year life of a solar panel system, theoretically, what the return to the township would be. So in some sense, what we're looking at is offsetting our electricity purchasing with our own production of solar. And so there's a big cost, of course, for installing solar up front. Here I calculate 1.4 million for the two buildings. But as you go through the reduction of that cost based on your saving from your electricity purchase, and also the SRECs and the tax advantages, the federal credits that you get, and there's a PICO credit, these all, contribute to your payback. So while it seems like the payback is out here a bit at year 13, before you break even, even with the remaining life, even if we only go to a 25-year life of the panels, the township would earn or return $740,000 of avoided electricity cost. So you could say, well, if I divide that 740,000 by 25 years, maybe it's not that big a deal. But I think when you look at municipalities, schools, nonprofits having very limited choices for income or revenue production, that solar is a reasonable, way to help them offset that cost. And this is positive cash flow to the township. So even if they think, well, it's not worth it because of all this, debt we're going to have, if they can get to that point to say, well, it's worth us making that investment, because at the end, we are going to return this much money to the township, and we won't have to, we can save on budget. We can use that money for other means. And so there are ways to work with the developer to not have this be a cost to the township. And that's, I think, called a power purchase agreement with the developer. And they give you ability to buy it back. So you get the ownership of it. But I just did a straight ownership cost here. So if the township had 1.4 million in its reserve, they could say, well, we know we're going to get a return on investment for 30 years if we don't have any other intention for that money. Or we go out and find out what are, banks loaning it at, and see if that loan rate would still return a decent amount of return here. Now, I think my estimate is a little bit conservative, or I should say non-aggressive, because other people I've talked to have said that they get their payback within 8 to 9 years. So I think I did a very conservative projection here because I didn't want to offer the township more than, what it could reasonably get. So if we give them a more conservative payback here and they're still willing to go for it, I think we get a solar estimator, someone who can do a better job of estimating this to give us a better picture. So this is based on the 30% federal credit, but I've heard that most of Pennsylvania falls into what they call energy communities. So if we qualify for the additional 10% federal credit, that gives us a better payback of true. There you go. 1.2 million, 888,000 after 25 years rather than the 740,000. So that could be another factor that could help the township if we do qualify as an energy community. And I think they ended up making that call about a month and a half ago because they felt that Pennsylvania had been retiring so many, coal plants and frack gas. I'm not sure exactly what qualifies for an energy community, but there were communities that were impacted by the results of these, operations that were fossil fuel based. So that would be one factor to look for to see if we could get the 40%. So, so this is based on two buildings, and so there's a tool that you can use here called PV Watts, and it's a national, what's that, NREL, National Renewable Energy Laboratory. So it's a public facing thing. So it's probably not the most accurate thing. If you were really doing a pure solar estimate, you'd want to get a developer to actually tell you what the true, cost would. But I think this gives you a back of the napkin type of ability to measure what you're doing. So I calculated.
Can I ask Bill? Did you have all of the incentives and everything in there? I missed that.
This calculation here, yes, this includes the 40% or 30% and 40% credit and the PICO credit and the SREX that you get from your production.
Okay. Is there that Inflation Reduction Act?
Yeah, that 30% federal credit is the Inflation Reduction Act, and the 10% adder is also the Inflation Reduction Act if you're an energy community. So those two calculations there, 30%, 40% are both based on the federal Inflation Reduction Act credits.
Yeah. With these panel providers or the solar providers, they'd probably be happy to come out and just do an estimate for you, right? For nothing.
Yeah, I think part of the situation with municipalities is that sometimes they have to go out for public bid if it's more than a certain amount. So I think they have to put an RFP together and ask for public bids. So it's hard to maybe just ask a solar developer to give you an estimate if they're not going to be able to win the bid. So I think there's maybe a protocol we have to go through before we can actually engage somebody who could do a real estimate. But I don't know, Rick, what's your call on that?
Yeah, it would definitely have to go to public bid. Anything over $18,000 has to be publicly bid, and then anything over $25,000 has to be, has to include the Prevailing Wage Act. And then anything over 150,000 is a responsible contractor ordinance that the township has. So it would definitely have to go out to bid. So it would have to be designed by an engineer, all the specifications written, and then go out to bid, and then lowest responsible bidder would be awarded.
But you're not actually going out for a bid. You're just asking somebody to do like a scoping estimate of what it would cost. And
Yeah, I
if you
guess,
tell them right up front, it's like, well, we're not going to buy anything. We just want to
yeah, that's
understand
what
what-
I'm a little, not sure about whether the township feels that these developers that come and give you an estimate would then expect to get business from you. You know,
I-
that's all I'm thinking.
We've gotten estimates years ago. I think it was probably like 2010. We got an estimate for the township building. I mean, that's, and I'm sure it's a lot different now than it was back then, but
Yeah.
that estimate, you're going to have to probably add 40% to that, because once you go to public bid, there's bonding and there's insurance requirements. And so you could get an estimate from them, but I don't know that it would be, I wouldn't hang my hat on what they, it's not the same as going out to a residential or even a private business and doing the work. There's a lot involved with public bidding.
And actually, we did work with the utility advisors that the township currently use for their electricity contract. And they actually talked to us about doing an estimate for us. So they'd probably be the best choice for the township to kind of get this back of the napkin type of estimate for us. Because they already have a relationship with the township. And then if the township does put the RFP together, I'm sure they would bid on it. So that's probably the best way to go for that. So the way this tool works is that you put in your address, and then there's this little mapping tool that you can actually draw the layout of the roof. So I realized that this aerial shot is fairly, not current, but Rick, there's probably still a lot of stuff up on the roof. So we really can't get a very good estimate from this. So what the way it works is you click and you draw your rectangles, and then then you kind of get an area there that it tells you how much that is. That's 53.8 kW. So what I did was, because the roof is kind of broken up here, I took different rectangles and just kind of pieced them together. So the total for this building theoretically could be 161. And then we could go over and look at the community center. But one other thought is that you could also look at ground mount. So I imagine this is the property line between the school, middle school and the township. So I don't know if this surface area right here, you could put a ground mount right there. Whether you could get a ground mount on any of this area here, Rick, if
I don't see, I see the aerial, but I don't see your cursor. So,
okay, I'm kind of right. Sorry, my mouse is not. Oh, I'm right here. So yeah, so I guess because I'm in this tool, it's not letting me use my mouse as a pointer. It's letting me use it as a solar mapping diagram. So I don't know if you just saw those clicks show up.
I did, but that's the geothermal well field, that whole area there. So I don't know that you want to put solar on top of that.
Yeah, so these are all things we could talk with different developers for. I guess the other area is this grassy area right here. That's pretty open. There's a grassy area here, grassy area here. So in some sense, whatever available space the township has, around the building. What is this section over here to the left, Rick? This section over here.
That's the public works garage, and then the truck barn, and then the compost area is that big, like, open area, I guess, to northwest of those buildings, that brown and stone area. I could see the marks that you put where the solar or the geothermal well field is, but I don't see any other marks.
Okay, I just put one over here. You see this up
Yeah,
here?
yeah. So that's our dump, the public works dump. That's where all the compost goes and the yard waste, and that's where they grind the mulch.
Yep, yep. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a challenge to find appropriate space for solar, but you know, if the township saw the value of the ability for solar to give them a return on investment that would be worth it, they might, be willing to go a little above and beyond and maybe reconfigure some of this space to allow for a ground mount, because if you're able to, move your equipment, maybe to a little bit and, carve off a little bit of this dump area, maybe you can get some good ground mount solar. So that would be part of the discussion.
So if you're doing ground mount, first of all, I mean, ground mount will be more expensive. You have to build the infrastructure to mount. But if you're
Actually,
doing,
they say that ground mount is actually the lower cost because it doesn't require going up on the roof. So you get a lower quote for a ground mount than you do for a roof.
nah, I would disagree. I mean, obviously we can't answer that, but from what I've heard, it's more expensive. But if you're going to do ground mount, why? I don't know if there's even more expense for doing carport. I'm just wondering if you're going to do ground mount, why you wouldn't do it as a carport over that big parking lot. And the area to the north is a park along the stream there. So I don't think.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a good candidate as a potential area. So you could probably get a good set of arrays. There are carport parking port systems that can be set up. So yeah, so all of those would be good topics to consider, because if the value of the payback is high enough, and you can say, well, look at all this money we're going to return for our budget in, going forward, you could say, let's develop as much solar as we can and cut down your expense of your electricity over lifetime of the system. So so the calculator back here is very, kind of rough calculator, but so I measured those two areas, the 161 for 700 Belvoir, and then the Jolly Road was the 494. We'd have to look at that roof to see if it's still accurate. So then the township currently locked in a 0605 electric rate, and it's a 3-year contract. It just started November 23. So they've got that fixed, and then this just built in a escalator of 2% per year on the electricity cost from that point. But the township does 3-year term, so you could kind of calculate what the future cost of electricity would be each 3-year term. But based on this escalator, this is just saying if we purchase this amount of solar, we lock in, a certain fixed amount for our electricity cost, and then our savings is what we would have paid if we'd been paying the live rate each term. So part of this. So then we calculate for your 25 years of solar panels, it effectively brings the rate down to 5.9 cents a kilowatt hour, which is less than the current 3-year term. And if you just look at the 20-year payback or rate, it's 6.2 cents kilowatt hour. If your panels last the 30 years, you bring your effective electricity rate down to 0.563. I think, we saw that PECO's rates went up 50% in 2 years from 2021 to 2023. and they just applied for a 12% rate increase this coming term. So the cost of natural gas, which is the predominant generation of electricity in Pennsylvania, has been going up because of the exporting of LNG across the world. So I think we could still make a good argument that it would behoove the township to lock in a lower rate over the longer term of those panels. So therefore, the more we can invest in solar, the more we can put solar in wherever we need it, the better off, because we offset the electricity cost. So that's kind of the overall view of this. Any thoughts, questions? So here I put the prior rate of the electricity and the gas. So this was the prior rate from their previous term, 3-year term. And so you can see that in that 3-year term, their electricity went up 37% and their natural gas costs went up 54%. So, the variability of fuel costs are going to be very unpredictable. So for a township that tries to create a budget and be able to manage their operating expenses, the more they can control their energy cost by, with this idea of generating their own solar, I think they'll win, get a better return on that. And then, so yeah, I put in this 2.25 cents solar cost per watt. And what they say is that your cost of installation varies based on the complexity of the installation. So utility scale that can do those acres of outdoor land, they get the lowest rate, down below $1.80 a watt. But typical rooftop stuff has been around $2 to $2.25. So that's where you're going to find, if you can get an RFP out and get multiple bidders, you can see who's able to offer a better rate in return.
Because if you just look on Google and the internet, for rooftop solar in Pennsylvania, 5 kilowatt installation is $14,500 before incentives, which is, so 14,500 divided by 5,000. That's 2.9 per watt.
I think
that's before incentives, though.
The larger array makes a pretty substantial difference why it would be lower. So,
well, how many watts are we buying here?
So this would be the total here is 655 right there. So yeah, we should get a discount on the purchase. So, I think I was being very conservative here, meaning I didn't want to put an aggressive cost here because, we're just trying to get the council interested. And I didn't want to promise something more that when they actually went out for bid, they'd find it even more costly than what we had projected. So I wanted to give them the higher cost up front and say, even with this higher cost up front, you can still look at this return on your budget over that period of time. And then if that's enough to, open their interest, then yes, we go for the RFP, we get the bids, and hopefully that cost comes down to do that. So that's why I kind of lean to the conservative side than the assertive side.
That's about the same number. If you take that many watts and use the number that I just said, it comes out to 1.329 million.
Yeah. So if you want to play with this and just put in a different cost,
and I used a 30% discount or whatever.
Yeah. So there you go. That's your cost right there, the 1.368. And then you see our payback comes in at 12 years. So this would help you, try out those different simulations to see. But again, I just was giving the township a higher amount to, let them know that even with this, conservative cost structure, you can still get a good payback for your budget.
Do they consider that good? 12 years?
Yeah, as I mentioned, other municipalities are getting it under 10% or 10 years. So, when you look at the total payback, I guess you're right. You kind of say, well, there is really no maintenance cost to panels. So in a sense, it's a fixed investment. You have to clean them off periodically, but relatively there's no ongoing real cost to keep them running. So in a sense, if the township was saying, let's just put these things on a roof and forget about them, we could still get $740,000 back to the bottom line. Is that a valid proposal? And then maybe by that time you've talked to utility advisors, gotten a better way of presenting this information, and then you come into the council with a better pitch. I just wanted to give a very, kind of higher cost just so that people wouldn't get too excited and then find out that we couldn't meet those goals. Because there is also that, question on each year, how much is labor going up and et cetera. So I don't know if that cost structure is going to stay the same. So Lena, any further questions about what you wanted to think about working on?
So we have not considered the cost of replacement of these solar panels. I don't know, from what you presented, I don't think you have considered that, right?
Yeah, so after every 25 to 30-year life, then you would have to get another installer to, give you a new bid. So at that, end of life, you would go out for a bid again. Hopefully by then, the cost of solar has come down tremendously, so you get a lot bigger payback for a smaller investment. But yeah, people will recycle the panels at that point.
But our calculations, have you considered that in these calculations or not?
No, because I think if you go 25 to 30 years, you kind of figure it as a sunk cost, and then you just go out for a new bid. So if this was a standalone proposal for that 25-year period, and you said you're going to get back that $740,000 on your budget, and they could say, yeah, we met that goal in the first 25 years, we're ready to do it again. And then they just go out for bid and do it again. So I don't know that we need to think out too far beyond, our scope of the length of the project right now.
Yeah.
I
Is
think
there any consideration of like finance charges or anything like that?
Yeah, so this was very simple spreadsheet. It does not include financing, and it does not include that power purchase agreement. So that's where we'd have to get the utility advisors, the energy company that Plymouth works with, to give us 3 scenarios. This is an outright purchase. We could effectively do a lease. There's like probably 4 choices. You do a lease, you do a power purchase agreement. Maybe those are the 3. And that they have experience. They work with a solar developer of their own, partner that they've worked with over years. So they would probably be the best for helping us understand what they could do for a municipality.
You do need to consider changing out the inverters, have a shorter life.
That's a really good point, Andy. I'll have to ask Henry Alexander. They just put out an RFP for West Goshen municipality, and they've got a projected cost for their system. I'll ask them what they did for the ongoing maintenance.
And
So I don't know when we could get a new picture of the roof, Rick, whether you would allow somebody to run a drone over the roof just so we could get a better picture.
Yeah, I could tell you it's significantly less. There were zero rooftop units up there, but yes, I would just if someone was going to do that, I would just want to let the police know that someone's there to send a drone up to take a picture. But I could tell you there's probably 3 of those roofs that are not going to be available.
Yep, no, that's what I thought. That's why I backed it down to the 161. I kind of did a very minimal rooftop for that building.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then the cost goes up, when you have fewer things you're buying because you aren't buying them on volume. So that's where having the ability to use any ground mount would be helpful.
The community centers, we replaced those top units, but they were installed in the same location. So the community center roof is accurate, but the township building changed significantly.
2910 Jolly Road. So if we
it's 8 o'clock. Can we have a look at it some other time?
Yep, that's fine. Yep, thanks.
Lena, did you just want to make sure you got the email I sent and the chart package that Villanova had put together previously, and I forget what else I sent you, some other calculations, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, I did receive that. Yeah.
Right. Anything else you wanted to talk about tonight here with Lena? Have a good night, Nick. Anything else before we move on, Lena?
No, I think I'm good with this. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. That was a good
Thanks, Bill.
deep dive. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. I'll post up that spreadsheet so you can access it again.
So just wondering, wanted to keep the ideas churning on what we could post here on social media. So ongoing updates on the single-use plastic ordinance. Want to make sure council has it on their next regular meeting schedule that we post that. I don't know, these are all notes. I don't recall what we wanted to do on plastic recycling. If that was, I think there was some questions on what is recyclable, and just providing some guidance on that on our Facebook. Feeling like maybe Maria had brought up some questions on what is recyclable, but I think that was that second bullet. Any other ideas on what we'd like to be posting about? Yeah, I think, I mean, probably the education series if Maria was here, whatever we're planning to do with that, probably one of the more applicable topics that we're talking about that would really benefit from, posting information on Facebook. I think as we continue with our other projects, I mean, we could just put some stuff on there just to let people know, but nothing really ready right now. All right, yeah, just keep that in mind. Keep thinking about that. We haven't really been super active in posting. I know Andrew had posted something about the trees, and I think there were some free trees that were available, and then we had the single-use plastic, some announcements there, but not too much over the last couple of months. So I'd like to keep that going. Yeah, one of the major things that we had, of course, this past month was the township day in our table there. So I just wanted to open it up. Paul, you were there. Fortunately, Maria is not here to talk about her experience, but what do you think from being there? And thank you, Bill, for all your help, of course, once again with the tent and the table and so forth.
I thought it was good. There was interested people stopped by. There was, my recollection, 2 people that were interested in being active with the EAB, I think, like kind of volunteering for it actually. One guy I know, Frank McCreesh. We got their names written down. The other guy, I can't remember his name, but his name was written down. If you have that sheet.
Yeah, we do. In fact, that's the next bullet, follow up with interested parties.
Yeah.
We actually collected, I think it was 5 names.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the last one I think was just interested in some information. The other 2 were interested in what we had going on. I don't know if they would. One of them was the tent that was next to us with the scout troop and some Eagle badge collaboration that we might be able to do with some projects or something like that. So I don't know if we have other ideas. I know one of Canopy and Lena, is it your son or is it someone from the troop that you're working with it? But so I had a little bit of experience there, but if we had any ideas there, I think that would be really interesting. And so he put in his contact information. And then the other person that signed up or gave us their contact information while I was there was a recent college graduate, and I think he was in the civil and environmental engineering, but he's actually working for a company that they're trying to do, what is it, low CO2 cement, low impact cement development. And I mean, he was just kind of interested in what the EAB was talking about, what we're working on. But I thought he was be an interesting individual to see, to try to get more involved with the EAB. The final one was just somebody I think that was really interested more in learning about our trails and walking, biking trails and where that's going. So I think they're mostly looking for information, but interested party. So I was wondering about reaching out to them. I think it has to be kind of casual. I don't think we want to be too formal about it, but just if I were to email them and say, hey, thanks for providing your information, just give them a little more of like a personal invite to come and attend some of our meetings, and then we can really figure out what they might be interested in and how we could work with them or line them up as potential future members of the board. Any other thoughts on reflections on the day or on those individuals specifically? So, try the one thing I forget all of what I had in my mind. One, I don't know exactly what happened with the board there, the second game or the game we had talked about printing out. But yeah, another game or something like that would have been good. But actually, I like the concept of the counting or estimating the marbles. It was a little funny as people were sitting there calculating. I just started asking them questions. You know, what do you think about what environmental issues concern you? And so just drawing them in for that second or two and having them stand there just gave me a chance just to start asking questions and see what's on their mind about some different environmental issues. And what they know or don't know related to the township activities. So I did like that, and I think anything like that is it would be good. However, I'll give the feedback that we need to come up with a different way of, I think, announcing a winner if we're going to do a game or something like that where we're actually giving out a prize. I don't know. I guess it didn't feel like it was too well thought out in the end. I didn't get involved in it, but a little uncomfortable that we were collecting contact information from minors. I've got young kids giving me their phone numbers and everything like that. I was a little uncomfortable with that, and I shredded all those sheets. I have no interest in retaining that information. But second of all, the person who did win, by the way, the real count was 362, and this person guessed 360, so they had a very good estimate there. I reached out to them multiple times and actually did not hear back from them. But what happened was the name was recognizable to my son, who's same grade as a person by the same name, and so he asked them and said that individual did say they participated in our game and couldn't remember what guests they had. But I'm like, I think we found our winner, so that's where the $10 prize went to. But it relied upon knowing kids in the school and so forth, that the collecting of contact information really didn't, I wasn't comfortable with, and it didn't really work out anyway. So I don't know. I don't know how you do it, to be honest. Anything kind of, either people have to be right there or you have to collect some contact information. So but especially if it's minors and so forth, that made me feel a little comfortable. But anyway, just two thoughts to think about next year.
Yeah, we can have option like if it's if they're minor, instead of getting their email address, we can just ask them to get email address or phone number of their parents.
Yeah.
And then that way we don't have to deal with that, the minor part.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people I saw were by themselves, so we didn't have an adult with them to ask or to mention that to. But yeah, I mean,
in the past, I wasn't there this year. I had something else going on, but in the past, and I don't know if they would do this, they used to have a bunch of, I'll say door prizes. I don't know what they would call them, but they would have the DJ announce it. And then, if the person's still there, they could just come over. That way you don't have to, you just take their name down and we could see if, I don't even know if, I'm assuming there was a DJ there this year, but that's how they used to do They had a few different prizes. Maybe they could do that next year. Just announce the name over the loudspeaker. Hopefully they're still there.
Yeah, maybe we could cut it off like a half hour before it wraps up or something, and then just have an announcement. Give them 5 minutes. If they don't show up, we go on to the next one, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's what they used to do. They give them time. If they didn't show up, they would announce the next winner.
That's a good idea.
Good idea.
I think we're starting to get a little bit late here, but I'll just go through these next things quickly. For those at the town hall, on the single-use plastic reduction ordinance, there's an individual who was against the ordinance, and one of the things they said they would enjoy if the township research investigated, took care of the water quality in the township, so that we wouldn't have to go out and purchase bottled water. I don't, this was just a comment made at the town hall. I don't know that there's any concern about the water quality, but was wondering, I mean, is that, I don't think, first of all, that the township has any control. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rick. It's Aqua PA.
Aqua PA, Philadelphia American are the two water suppliers, and I know Aqua American, they have you see little green boxes throughout the township where they test the water every so often. We have one at the community center park that they put in. I'm sure that they post those findings on their website. I know Aqua does it for sure. I don't know about Pennsylvania American.
So, and like a question, what parameters do they test? And like the the resident that reached out about the water quality concern, are they looking for any specific parameters that are not part of these, right? Like the results that Aqua posts.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know what they post. I do know that they
Yeah,
test.
I mean,
But we don't have our own water authority. It's Aqua or Pennsylvania American, so we don't have any real control over the water quality, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was an interesting comment. It's hard to tell in the forum if they're just making a comment. I don't know if they really had a specific concern. They actually said they have well water, but they see a lot of people buying bottled water, and I guess make the assumption that they feel uncomfortable with the water quality in the township, or I shouldn't say in the township, but from Aqua PA or Philadelphia American. So I don't think there's no action per se, but I thought it was a reasonable question, and something to talk about. If anyone has any concern of their own or heard other residents who stated a concern, maybe it is something that we can investigate more. Yeah. I drink the tap water, or just the filter our tap water. I don't have any concerns with other issues, but also so what was it? It was before the regular township meeting. The developer at the mall had a next step in their plan to use that as a mixed use development. I guess, is it I don't know the details of it. Is that the high-rise building there actually changing that to a residential building, or I don't know the details.
Yeah, I know that there was a request to make that into, there was a few different requests. One was an assisted living, and then there were like then there was another, I think that got nixed, and there was a request for apartments in that high rise. There was another request for an additional, several hundred. I can't remember the amount, where the old IKEA office building is, just below Whole Foods. And I don't know where that stands, but I do know that they wanted to make apartments in in the high rise, and there was an additional proposal for a new building, where the IKEA office building was.
So, it just kind of intrigued me, from a sustainable living standpoint, to have that, you could end up with residents who, without getting into a car, could walk to a mall, could walk to shopping, both, anything you find at a mall as well as grocery, could walk to entertainment like Dave and Buster's, like the movie theater, could walk to restaurants. So, I mean, to me, it's a very interesting idea to promote. They of course would be driving in and out, but once they're there, they ditch the car and walk around. And Bill, thank you for attending the meeting and had a comment about the potential bike path going around the outskirts of the mall. So that would be another interesting aspect of that apartment living, is that they would have direct connection right into a trail system that would take them off the premises, and longer bike rides and other places to go to. So, I don't know if I'm always in love with developing, but as a development goes, I mean, I thought there was a lot of interesting things that they could do with this. I don't know completely what their plan is, but I thought in the end, really, this could be a nice idea to mix and co-locate a lot of these different options for those people. So I don't know if again, something we could follow up with, even, try to pitch to the developer really an idea of really making, highlighting it as kind of a sustainable or eco-living type of situation. Make that a center point of how they're going to promote or sell these. Anyway, just some thoughts I had when I heard about that.
Yeah, Andy, just to let you know, that was a text amendment change. So what they had to do was get the ability to put residential in a retail zone. So that was the request, and that was what council was deciding on. Subsequently, once they get that in place, then the developer would come back with a new proposal, because the previous proposals of the certain number of apartments had not been allowed, even if they had changed the ordinance. The other thing I kind of thought to me, the fact that our comprehensive plan does have that appendix, or that section. It's not an appendix, it's actually a chapter on bikeability. I'm thinking that there might be another project idea for the EAB to get involved in the zoning or planning process. I know Abington and maybe one other EAC I've heard actually has a checklist that they ask, or they attend the meetings, but they actually go through a checklist of things. Because if I hadn't been there or been aware of this meeting, I wouldn't, no one would have known that we had a bike plan drawn around the mall. So the fact that that development or that change could have gone through and the developer would never have known that that's what we wanted, it just gives me the feeling that our comprehensive plan isn't kept in mind. And it's not that it, needs to be front of mind, but the fact that the AB could be a kind of observer to be able to make sure that we don't miss things like that. And then, as you said, create a more sustainable community. Because I thought it'd be perfect if the Plymouth really centered on that as their town center. It did something like what Collegeville has.
You're saying the town center, like around the mall.
Yeah, the retail town center that's actually there at the intersection of 422 and 29. Is just an example of that kind of. I don't think they have residential, but the fact that it's got a lot of different services is kind of appealing.
Yeah, there's a lot of residential there. 422 and 29,
Yeah.
that big development, yeah. That would be nice. They did something like that at the mall, at the Plymouth Meeting Mall.
Yeah.
It's a lot, seems like the Plymouth Meeting Mall area is a lot smaller than that, but so I don't know if that would make a difference, but
A mini town center.
yeah,
Mini me.
that or like King of Prussia and at 202, right up 202, on the other side of the mall.
Saying hopefully not too much like King of Prussia only. I would say that because, well, okay, across South Gulf, is that where you're going with that?
If you go past the mall on 202, it's
Right.
well, and it's a big area. It's 422 and 202 form like one corner of it.
It was where the golf course was there.
Yeah,
I was thinking.
yeah, there was a golf
Okay, yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm just thinking of 202. It's all you got to get in your car and drive. That
Mm.
aspect,
yeah,
that's
like
not.
in the mall area. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Anyway, something to keep in mind, and yeah, anyone has any other ideas there, or here's of other ways to get involved or whatever, bring it back to the township discussions of the month. I just wanted to bring up again this East Plymouth Valley Park, that back section behind the last baseball field. Rick, did you ever get a chance to look into where the park boundary is? And is that really in the boundary? Is that something we could?
It is, yes. I talked to the fire marshal, I talked to the police. So, they've been aware of it. There's been a couple instances back there. It's brought up at the roll call meetings. But to answer your question, it is the very back section of the park. Some of it is probably Pico, but without any like real property line markers. It's hard to say, but it looks like it is part of the park.
All right, no, thanks for that update. It's getting late tonight, so I won't keep talking about it. And we just lost Rick, I guess. But yeah, just I think I'll pick up back there and maybe even trying to loop the trail, extend the trail back there would be kind of neat. But we'll talk about it more some other time.
Yeah, I lost you guys for about 10 seconds, so I didn't hear what you said, but yeah, it is part of the park.
Thanks, Rick. So Rick, first of all, thank you. I know you've been making the award tours. You've gotten recognized a couple times, I think, for the 30th work 30th year work anniversary. Congratulations. Well done. And
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, congratulations.
very cool.
Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you.
I like seeing your name on some of the different the plaques at the park, when they were
Yeah.
commissioned or whatever. And I see your name. I'm like, oh, he's been around for.
Yeah. When we redeveloped all the parks, I guess some of the grants required plaques. So yeah, I'm on a few of those.
Very cool. Congratulations. So yeah, what announces and specifically ask you the question on where the township building lies in terms of being completed and when
So
we
we're
would be back in person.
Yeah, so we're going to be back in person in August. So starting August 1st, all the township meetings will go back to the township building. So we'll go back in person. We're close to completion. There's some punch stuff that has to be done. We're in the process of moving the police back in out of the office trailers tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big day because we're moving the evidence trailer back into the new evidence room, and that's a painstaking process because everything has to be cataloged and put back on, the correct shelf. And so that's what we're police back in. Codes is back in. They're out of the community center. They went back in last month. Once we move the police in, everyone will be back in. We'll get those trailers out of there, finish up some site lighting work in that area, and we'll be real close to final completion.
Thanks. Anything else?
That was
Besides the
really it.
township?
That was we started our redoing a bunch of our courts. Caldwell Park was done. We installed 4 pickleball courts there. On top of that, multi-purpose court, and then East Plymouth Valley tennis courts, and Black Horse basketball court, and JFK multi-purpose and tennis courts will be next. So that'll be going on probably through July. So if anybody plays pickleball, there's 4 courts at Caldwell Park. You have to bring your own nets and paddles and stuff like that, but the courts are lined out.
I haven't caught on to the trend yet, Rick. Sorry.
Me neither. I'm behind on mine, I guess.
Me neither, but it's really popular. I'll tell you that.
Hmm.
GPCC, they get a lot of requests for more courts or something, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a group that plays pickleball there every day in the gym. We have courts with 3 courts in the gym. But now that summer camp has started, it limits their time in the gymnasium in the community center. So they're able to go to Caldwell. I mean, they would like their own pickleball courts, but just to try and find a spot for them and the cost of construction, we decided just to line Caldwell. But yeah, there's a good amount of people that show up every morning to play at the community center.
Maybe someday. I think we're past 8:30 now. I don't want to spend too much more time here. Just again, going through my emails and so forth, what I receive, picking up some different pieces. I don't think the township is in position to be purchasing any of these EV heavy duty vehicles, but wanted to make people aware that this is happening and maybe in the next budgetary cycle or sometime soon, and learn from what's being done now and pursue something like that. So there's a recorded webinar there that you can go to. I didn't personally looked into too much of anything on the slides here, so can't speak too much to it. But anyway, just some other things for you guys to look at. If you get a chance or haven't seen them already. Anyone have any familiarity here or anything they want to talk about any of these?
I have been involved in those types of programs before. The heavy duty vehicles, so getting grants to buy emission control equipment, to retrofit, to garbage trucks, school buses, delivery trucks, mostly in California. We do a lot of, so they're usually grants though, so the township would not have to pay for it. That would be the idea, that you would get a grant and the EPA would provide the money to buy the vehicle.
I didn't look
I
into
could
it.
actually
There's
look at this thing.
matching funds or something. But
I don't know. I'll take a look at this and see what they say, but
Yeah, the EPA Clean Heavy Duty, I've been part of the community advocates group that's been trying to get the word out. So I guess you need, they're looking for submissions for 3, I believe it's class 6 or 7 vehicles. Rick, do you know what class vehicles Chris has?
I don't know what class. I know that they are CDL. They're over 30,000 and 1 pounds. I don't know what class that.
yeah,
the
that would
problem
probably be
that-
like a garbage truck or something like that.
The problem that we have, at least this is what Chris's concern is that our trucks are used for plowing, and I don't know that, and even the garbage trucks have plows when we get, I'll say, significant snow, probably over 6 inches of snow, the garbage trucks do plow, and I don't believe that there are vehicles that can plow. I mean, those trucks run for hours and hours, sometimes days, depending on how big the snow is. But I don't think that there are vehicles that are able to do that yet. That's what I've heard. I don't know that for a fact, but that's the concern of our public works.
Yeah. How many vehicles does he have?
I'll say a lot. I don't know. I know there's 2, 4, 6. There's probably 7 or 8 trash trucks, and there's probably double that of plow, dump trucks. So, probably 24, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Wow, that's a good fleet. Yeah, I mean, he could look at chipping off, find out whether this grant would give him access to those newer vehicles that have better power productivity.
Yeah, as far as I know, and I'm not, I don't know all the particulars, but I know that was something that was an issue recently as far as the vehicles that were out there.
Yeah.
just I don't know if we have any other budget requests. But Rick, I guess that cycle's coming up here of your announcements.
Usually in August, we do our preliminary budgets to the finance director, and then he goes over them, and then we present to council in October. So yeah, it's coming up.
All right, thanks, Seb. So if we have anything, we should talk about
Yeah.
it next month to prepare for August. All right.
Yes.
And I didn't actually have anything on the local level, any of the neighboring townships. I haven't heard anything, so really that's
I guess
all I had prepared.
the only thing I'd mention is that the Montgomery County Commissioners have made a proposal to what do you call it, rehab the Norristown Dam and add electric generation to it, but it's like a 2 to 5 year process to even get the permitting. So there's actually a public comment, open public comment. When I get the email for that, they're looking for as many of us to support that request. So it sounds like an interesting capability. They're gonna add to the dam these turbines that'll generate, I forget how much power, but anyway, interesting idea.
So that was something that Villanova's study they did
Oh
talk
yeah,
about.
that's right. Hey, we should
And then
we
they
should give them credit.
actually uncovered that there used to be electric production capability and they took it out.
Ah.
But it'd be interesting because I mean I know those designs have changed a lot over the years due to concerns about fish, habitat, life, so forth. So be interesting to see if you could put in some of those newer designs in there and get some
Yeah.
electricity out of it again.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I saw there was an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer about kind of described what it was.
Have to look at that up. Thanks. Or if you come across it and could send out the link, I'd be interested.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just asking Paul if he can send it to everyone.
Oh, yeah,
Like
okay. I'll look it up. Yeah, sure.
All right. Anything else there? All right. No. I don't know that we ever had quorum, so I don't know if we officially started on that. Any motion to close?
Make a motion.
Thanks, Paul. I'll second. So we'll go through that. So, all right. Thank you guys. Stay in contact and have a good month.
All right. See you guys.
okay.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.